This video is brought to you by Squarespace. From custom domains to beautiful websites using their easily customizable templates that you can have up and running in minutes, e-commerce, email and email marketing, SEO, analytics, and scheduling, Squarespace does it all and has done it for us for the last 11 years. If you are a small to mid-sized business in any industry, Squarespace is the place to go for all of your website needs. Hop over to www.squarespace.com/hugh for a free trial. And if you like what you see and want to move forward, receive 10% off your first order by using the discount code HUGH at checkout. Thanks, Squarespace. Hey everybody, I'm Hugh Roundstone for Three Blind Men and an Elephant, and it is my great pleasure and privilege to be joined by CEO of Sigma, Kazuto Yamaki. Thanks so much for making the time. Good to see you again.
Thank you very much for having me.
Truly my pleasure and privilege. We're going to do something a little bit different today. Those of you who know the channel have heard this many times before, but for those of you who don't or haven't, I often say, yes, it's about the gear, but no, it's not about the gear at all. It's about the people. And so, of course, we'll talk about the gear, but what's more interesting to me becomes the people embodied by this gentleman. So this is a conversation. Kazuto, I'm going to start here. You guys have been on an incredible tear. The 7200 Sports, the 500 5.6, incredible. The 51.2, where you're using linear actuators. The 28 to 45 1.8 full frame. These are all full frame. The 200 F2, the 135 1.4, the 300 to 600, which is a beast. But you provide versatility and image quality performance that can't be touched by anybody else. And now you've got the Aizu Cine lenses that you've announced, and you did the BF. And as you know, we were so impressed with the BF that my partner Ed and I did a custom grip for it, and we just think it's a work of art.
Thank you very much. It was a wonderful grip. Yes.
Thank you. It seems that there has been a steady progression. You're doing things that the big guns can't or won't. You know that.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? How does that fit into your plan?
Well, I'm truly proud of what our employees did, our engineers and our staff did in the past. I'm just a part of the Sigma. I'm not doing everything what Sigma have been doing. So I appreciate it, what our employees have done for the company and for our customers.
And now, just to finish off the gear, you introduced the 35 1.4, the Mark II. And I have that sucker attached to my SL3 just out of frame. And I'm going to shoot the crap out of that for the next couple of weeks. But I can tell you already, just looking at it locally and taking test shots, I think this is a new benchmark. Okay. And I say this as someone who owns an Apo Summicron SL. The question becomes, how did they get here? So we're going to talk about origin stories. Right? We're going to talk about yours, your dad's. We're going to talk about your successes and what Claudia and I in our street photography workshops call noble failures. Things that someone from the outside could see exactly what you were trying to do and somehow it didn't quite gel. But the reason why it's a noble failure is because it prepares you for the next iteration.
That's it.
Finally, we'll talk about new landscape competition. Software correction, AI, blue ocean, all that kind of stuff. So let's begin with the origin story, like it's a comic book of Sigma Corporation.
Yes. So Sigma was founded in 1961, founded by my father when he was 27 years old. And in the beginning, the Sigma was founded in the center of Tokyo. And at that time, there were so many parts and unit suppliers, component suppliers for camera and lenses in Tokyo. So we worked with such suppliers, and my father built our own lenses together with the suppliers. And then, so from the beginning, we've been making lenses for cameras, and that's my father's passion. And then, always at the beginning of the company is really challenging, but we could survive. And then in 70s, my father got the idea to become camera manufacturer, not just staying as a lens manufacturer. So we started making our own cameras.
Was it the SD that was your first camera around 2002, or were there predecessor cameras to that?
Oh, that's our SD9. It's our first digital camera. But we even that in the time of film, we had a film Sigma camera, which was called Mark One. It's I think a 1976 or 5 or 6 time frame.
I want to go back to your dad's origin story to just before he founded Sigma. You and I talked about this. You shared this with me a year ago. So it's the early 1960s. You said there were lots of different suppliers, but he was working for a company before Sigma in the same space. Was it binoculars? What was that?
I don't know exactly what the company was doing at that time, but it was a small optics company, I was told. The company probably provides some the optical components to others, but also they assembled the binoculars. And he learned how to assemble the binoculars, including the alignment of the prism. It was not so easy to align the prism perfectly, not near perfectly. Okay. So he could earn quite good money, although he was very young engineer at the time. So he enjoyed the business a lot. And then he actually at that time he learned how to build the binoculars when he was still the college student. And then he decided to work for the small optics company after he graduated the school.
It's an aside, but was college back then something that you had to pay for or that the government supported?
My father's family was quite poor, so I think he had to work for himself by himself to earn money for the education. So government, actually the education fee is not so high in Japan.
Not like today.
The family was poor, so he had to work. He did lots of part-time jobs to earn money.
I can relate to that. You also told me last year that at some point that company folded.
Mm-hmm.
And your father was asked to create a new company. Can we talk about that a little bit?
That's true. So after he graduated university, he started working for the small optics company. Because it was so small, although he was just a mid-20s employees, one of the employees, but he was worked as one of the corporate executives. And one day, the company bankrupted. Actually, this is what I heard from my parents, but the company owner disappeared one day with company money.
Oh boy.
With mistress. So
now this is getting juicy. You didn't tell me this last year. Okay.
And then, as one of the corporate executives, my father had to close down the office. Then the supplier, that company was quite small, but still the company had several suppliers. The owners of several suppliers contacted my father and asked for some jobs, asked for asked to continue the business, and then he decided to found Sigma.
Do you know if he did that for multiple reasons or was it strictly financial? I got the sense when we spoke last year that it was also some kind of feeling that there was an obligation to keep people employed.
Exactly. I graduated the university in 1991.
MBA.
No, actually, the normal school in Japan. And also, sorry, and I graduated the graduate school in Tokyo,
Yes.
93. It's not MBA, but I learned business there.
I'll just point out, this is another thing that AI got wrong. Okay.
Okay.
My research, not what you're telling me.
Okay. So, right after I joined Sigma, we had a financial problem, actually. Real, serious financial problem. And, both I and my father was really concerned if Sigma may go bankrupt.
Wow.
And one day, we were driving car. I was driving car with my father on the way back from the office to home. He was so exhausted, and he confessed that he had no plan to become an entrepreneur or become the business owner. He just wanted to help people when he founded the company. And that such kind of sense of responsibility or obligation led him to that point. So it was, I think, mid-90s. So it's already over 30 years. So he confessed to me that he did not continue the business just for kind of money or something. He just did it for his sense of responsibility, social responsibility.
This is really, really interesting, guys. And you'll see me come back to this. You've seen me come back to this with another privately held, family-run business with which you are partners. And of course, I'm talking about Leica. And I think that's a real common ground or a common denominator why I'm so appreciative of what you've managed to do, not only in terms of the products, which are exceptional at this point.
Thank you.
But what you think about and how you work with your people. Again, Claudia and I saw this when we visited the Global HQ. We saw what kind of environment you had created. Really quite exceptional. I want to come back because you nicely moved into your origin story as CEO. I hope you won't mind that I will bring up another thing that we talked about last year. We were just standing, talking. It was the first time we'd met each other. And I asked you, did you actually want to go into the family business?
My father always told me to take over his business, even when I was a small kid. He always patted my shoulder that you need to take over. He told me that you need to take over my business.
That's a heavy weight on that shoulder.
Yes. At that time, I think I was maybe age of 6 or 7.
Wow.
And I still remember that at that time, Sigma had about 100 employees. So he patted on my shoulder that on your shoulder, the life of 100 people is on your shoulder. He told me. And he also told me that you have to consider about the family of the employees. So considering that each employee has a family of 4 people, then about 1,200 people's life is on my shoulder. He told me.
7 years old.
Yeah.
When all you wanted to do was watch anime cartoons.
Yeah.
On TV.
So it was big pressure. So I did not like to, actually, I did not believe I can be CEO of the company because my father was a kind of charismatic person. He was tall. He is very smart. And he has a man of vision. So I had no idea how we can be like him. And that's why I wanted to escape from that.
Well, 7 years old, I think you're allowed some slack.
Actually, I had such a feeling until maybe 17, 18 years old. So it was a big pressure for me. And I didn't want to take over the business. But at that point, I realized that I sensed that there was nobody who can take over my father's vision or philosophy and bring it to the company. So I was determined to work hard to take over my father's business.
And how old were you at that point?
17, 18 years old.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go back to a year before that, because last year I asked you, well, what did you want to do? Do you remember what you told me you wanted to be when you grew up?
When I was a small kid, I don't remember what I told you, but when
it better be the same as what you told me. Okay.
When I was like a 6, 7 years old boy, I wanted to be the owner of the fruit shop.
Okay, this is a new story. Origin stories change. Owner of a fruit shop.
Because I really like the fruit, like melon, banana, watermelon, things like that.
Yeah, we have fruit every morning. Blueberries, raspberries. Oh, muesli. Fantastic.
And then after that, I became obsessed with sports. Especially, I like baseball.
There we go.
Yeah. So I wanted to be a baseball player.
Yes. What? I didn't ask you last time. What position did you want to play? Shortstop?
Shortstop. I really enjoy playing baseball. But, soon after that, I can understand I cannot be a professional baseball player.
Not very many people can. All right. Let's continue. So now, by the time you're 17 or 18, your father has successfully transmitted to you this sense of duty.
Actually, I was born in the same place where our headquarters was located. So our house was actually on top of the office building. Yeah. So Sigma was founded in the center of Tokyo in 1961, but we moved to the outskirts of Tokyo in 1968 when I was born. So my father built the 5-floor building, and from first floor to fourth floor was factory, office, and engineering spaces. But the top floor was our residence.
That's actually very smart.
So since I was a small kid, I knew everyone, every employees, and they also knew me. So my life had always been with Sigma. And so although I did not want to take over my father's business, the Sigma was always with me. And during this period, I could have a sense of responsibility to the company, to the employees, and to our customers.
And that gave you real continuity, which is very rare in a corporation. That it was privately held, that it was family run, gave you challenges, but also gave you opportunities that maximizing shareholder wealth don't. Wow. So you are acclimated. You not only accept your destiny, but you embrace it. That's 1993, your first day. Yeah. Silly question. Desert island. You have a solar powered stereo system.
Okay.
You can only bring one album from the 1990s with you.
From 1990s?
Yes. I asked you that question because when we spoke about that last time, you were very enthusiastic about a number of bands I'd never heard of. And that's when I realized I was much older than you are.
Okay.
Disappointing.
But in this case, may I choose the one from 80s?
Oh, yeah.
Probably the album called Highland Hard Lane, performed by the band called Aztec Camera. They're from Scotland. It's very fantastic music.
Okay, let's continue. So it's 1993. You worked side by side with your father for the next 19 years.
More or less, yes. Because Sigma is not such a big company. So even though I was assigned to the kind of kind of responsibility that he not only always hands-on like human resources or accounting, but I was always with him.
So did he structure your years there, those early years, by having you understand every function of the business?
I don't think so, because as I said, in mid 90s, we had a financial crisis. And after that, nearly 10 to 15 years, we really struggled to make our business stabilized. So I don't believe my father had time to think about it. He always focused on what he liked to do, and he used 100% of his power for the company. So I did not believe I had such an organized career, but just by coincidence, I could experience so many different positions. So I learned a lot from such experiences.
So we got to 1993. We're at 1961. We got to the point where you're at 1968 and moving further from the center of Tokyo, but then Aizu. So let's talk more about that.
Yes. It was early 70s. Although we moved to the outskirts of Tokyo, but that area also becoming busier. There are lots of people coming in, and it's becoming a busy residential area. So my father realized that there was no space to expand our factory space. And at the same time, he was traveling all over Japan to recruit the junior workers, maybe the junior people who just graduate from the school.
Sure.
And at that time, one of the employees at Sigma was from Aizu, and he introduced Aizu to my father. And he decided to go to Aizu again to recruit some people from over there. But, Aizu is far away from Tokyo. And at that time, there was no brick train, so-called Shinkansen.
Oh, yeah.
So it took really long time to go there. So he had to stay there. Today, we can make a one-day trip, but at that time, he had to stay there. And one day, he had dinner with a local business owners, and probably some local people, maybe including farmers. And he had a big party at the time, and he drank lots of sake over there. And he was told, this is what I heard from my father. He was told that local people asked him to build the factory in Aizu instead of recruiting the people.
Very interesting.
Because at that time, the farming was becoming more modern, so more kind of mechanized.
Yeah.
So farmers didn't have to stay in the paddy field all the time, because they could be very busy in springtime and autumn time when they
seasonal business.
But in the rest of the year, he can work at the factory. And actually, the old son had to stay there to take over the father's farming business. So local people asked my father to build a factory. And then, because he was so drunk, he said yes. But he was not so serious. And he came back to Tokyo, and he believed nobody believed in it. But actually, he believed that the local people believed in what he promised. And since then, he got a phone call from the local people almost every day. And finally, he couldn't
I
reject.
couldn't take it
He could,
anymore.
yeah. And then he decided to have the small factory in Aizu. That's the beginning of the Aizu factory.
There must have been something about your dad that made people come to him and say, help us out. And,
Yeah.
and that, I think that speaks wonderfully to who he was. What a story. Okay. So now you're in Aizu, but you said earlier that the nature of the industry in Japan at that point was multiple suppliers. But you just said that this was far away. So how did relocating to Aizu impact your ability to use many suppliers? Or did your dad make a decision ahead of that to come at it differently? Because you are highly integrated, vertically integrated now.
In the beginning of Sigma, what we could do is just assemble the parts into the lens. We had no factory because we founded the company in the center of Tokyo. But after we moved the factory headquarters to the outskirts of outside of Tokyo, we had first factory. But still, our ability to make parts and units were limited. But by the time he was running the company, he realized that he need to take the 100% full control of each component to make sure the product works properly. So by taking time, he gradually added our ability to make every kind of parts.
Do you know whether or not that was relatively unique at that time?
Maybe, I think so. Normally, the company start doing everything by themselves, and for economical reasons, they started giving to the reliable suppliers. But he went to the opposite side, and he every time he saved some money, he bought a new machine and added our ability to make different type of manufacturing.
So you really had inside baseball. I can't believe I just did that, into not only the company, but how the industry worked. And you came on board in 93. You assumed the role of CEO shortly after your father died.
Right. Yeah.
A few months after you became CEO, you announced the breakthrough product, the 35 1.4 DGHSM.
Yes.
A lens that was big, heavy, but also redefined image quality. Can you talk about that? Because I'm curious to what extent that was your baby. And when I say your baby, I absolutely embrace what you're saying about, in essence, it takes a village. But was that your idea or your father's idea or someone else's idea?
So it's a long story, but
we've got 10 minutes.
So my father passed away to January 2012. But the design of the 35mm 1.4 was already done, I think, end of 2010 time frame.
Okay.
So it was a kind of education program for our junior optical designer. So we've got a very talented, very smart young engineer, but he had no experience to design optics. So I gave some agenda for him. Why don't you try the best of the best optics? At that time, I was a optical design manager. Although I can't design optics at all, but I was a manager of the optical design team for some reasons, and I gave that agenda.
Let me just interject for a moment. You may not have been able to design, but you clearly understood to whom you ought to delegate.
Oh yeah,
that's a big deal. You know that.
Yeah.
Okay, please continue.
And then that young designer finished design, optical design, and showed it to me. And I was really amazed how it performed good. And then I turned it into a kind of hidden project or sales
A
project.
skunkworks.
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 Mm-hmm.
Yes. Maybe off to the side. No one else knew about it.
And until I may keep it until it's ready to present to my father.
Ah.
But during that period, my father found very serious cancer in his body.
Mm.
It was in July 2011. And then I lost the opportunity to present it to him. But and also I went to the hospital with my father, and the doctor told us that my father only had a limited life, maximum 6 months. So it was very shocking and very sad to me. But then I realized that sometime next year I had to take over the business, and then I have to make a preparation. And then long before that, I strongly believe that the Sigma needs some transformation to make the best products. And I decided to make that 35mm 1.4 our hero products for the new Sigma. And then even after my father was fighting with cancer, I started the art line project.
This was the inflection of the global vision?
Exactly, yes.
So it's been an incredible journey. The 35 1.4 DG Art that you just announced is dramatically smaller, lighter, optically superior, much better autofocus. And as I said, it is a benchmark optic.
Thank you. Actually, the 35mm 1.4 DG Mark II was designed by the same optical designer who designed the first 35mm 1.4 art series.
I got to do it one more time. I love that. I understand that Japanese companies appreciate experience. Mm-hmm. And it's not like you hit a certain age and you're gone. Because at the very least, they will have seen things and will have made mistakes that the youngsters couldn't.
Yeah.
They wouldn't know about that.
The technology is a matter of the accumulation. If we accumulate our experiences, we can make the technology even better. And I'm very lucky person because the very few people leave the company.
The turnover. We would call it turnover.
Turnover.
Yes.
So in Sigma case, way less than 1% of our employees leave the company per year. Wow. So most of people stay quite a long time in the company. It's during this period we can accumulate our knowledge and experiences, and we share such information with everybody. So we can. That's why we make the product better.
I know a bunch of you want to know all about the Foveon sensor. I know a bunch of you want to know about what's next for the BF. If we're going to stick to 45 minutes, we have 4 minutes and 40 seconds left. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to ask you about that because I'm sure you've spoken to a number of other people and they can watch those YouTube videos as well. Instead, I want to ask you this. Again, in our last conversation here, you said that, and you said it here earlier, that your father wanted to be a camera manufacturer as well. Mm-hmm. We spoke briefly about the SD line, the Mark I that came in the film era, and there have been a number of cameras since the original SD launched in 2002. There was a hiatus between the last SD, which I think was the 9, and then the arrival of the FP series. FP 24 megapixel, FPL 61 megapixel, no mechanical shutter, no EVF, no articulating screen. And then it was another hiatus before you came out with the BF. On the one hand, it seems clear to me, as you had said last time, that you wanted to honor your father's ambition mm-hmm. and become a camera manufacturer. Mm-hmm. A thought and a question. One, I would wonder with you, not now, because it's 3 minutes and 10 seconds left.
Mm.
If you might not regard some of your camera models as noble failures, that they did not achieve, let's say, the sales success that you might have wanted, or that would justify continuing at that point in time.
Mm.
The Foveon sensor, the full frame Foveon sensor project was canceled or postponed around 2022. I understand you are now at phase 2 of making that happen, but I really don't want to talk about that. Instead, I want to ask this.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that in a much smaller market than it was a decade ago or 2 decades ago, and with rising competition, especially from China, not only when it comes to lenses, but when it comes to cameras, do you believe that it makes sense to continue until you get it exactly the way you want it? Because the question becomes, what does success look like when everyone else who's been doing cameras for a very long time is finally catching on to the whole mirrorless thing?
Mm-hmm.
I want to hold that thought. I do want you to answer that question if you'd like, but then I want to wonder this with you. A turnover rate of less than 1%. A man who inherited initially against his own desire. I mean, this is the classic journey, right? You don't want to go down that path, but then you go down it and you do an extraordinary job. Is it fair to say that the highest honor that you could give your father is to do what you have already done? That is to build a company which consists of people who are loyal because they are treated well, because they do extraordinary things, and you are loyal to them. Is that actually the highest honor you could give your father?
I think so. I agree with you. That's the most important lesson I learned from him.
Then I don't care about the cameras. But you do. So in our remaining time, what is the plan for Foveon? What does that timeline look like? And what is your plan for the BF?
As for the Foveon sensor, we are still working on that project. Our engineers, actually, we have several engineers who are assigned for that project. So they are working very hard. And they are making progresses. Although it's not as fast as I wished, but they are making progress. It's still way too early to talk about the camera, but our sensor project is making progress. So we work hard for the people who've been waiting for the Foveon sensor camera. So I like the customers to be a little bit more patient and wait for the announcement from us.
Okay.
As for the next series of our BF camera, I don't have any plan right now yet, but the feedback from the market was beyond my expectation. So it makes every sense for us to continue BF series in the future.
I wish you would. I wish you well. I hope you give us an EVF that's really small. Anyway, Kazuto, thank you for spending the time.
Thank you so much.
It's really lovely to see you again, and thank you for sharing your origin stories with us. That's it, guys. From the streets of New York here in Soho, I'm Hugh Brownstone for 3 Blind Men and an Elephant. Kazuto Yamaki, for his CEO at Sigma. See you next time. Not bad.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
This video is brought to you by Squarespace. From custom domains to beautiful websites using their easily customizable templates that you can have up and running in minutes. E-commerce, email and email marketing, SEO, analytics, and scheduling. Squarespace does it all and has done it for us for the last 11 years. If you are a small to mid-sized business in any industry, Squarespace is the place to go for all of your website needs. Hop over to www.squarespace.com/you for a free trial And if you like what you see and want to move forward, receive 10% off your first order by using the discount code HUGH at checkout. Thanks, Squarespace. If you like what you've seen here today, please give a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, join the conversation in the comment section below because this is an exceptional audience. If you'd like help with a portfolio review, gear selection, finding or honing your artistic voice, sign up for a one-on-one mentoring video called via Zoom at 3bmep.com/booking. Finally, please consider supporting our work by using the no-cost-to-you affiliate links down below, sending us coffee money via PayPal, or most especially, joining us on Patreon, links down below as well. However you choose to support us, as always, we thank you for it.